Good morning, welcome, and thank you everybody for joining us today for the webinar RTView, the all-in-one TIBCO monitor. Now throughout this event, please feel free to submit any of your questions on the panel located on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will answer as many questions as possible after the presentation. So with that, let's get started. Now today, we're going to be talking about why it's important to invest in a comprehensive monitoring strategy for your mission-critical TIBCO middleware platform. And we're also going to demonstrate how a centralized performance monitoring platform can provide you with the operational insight needed to predict alert conditions, take preventative action, and protect your company from embarrassing service outages. Now, monitoring multiple TIBCO technologies isn't easy. I think we all know that. By its very nature, TIBCO middleware and middleware-centric applications are distributed across the enterprise and sometimes across the world. They have many load-balanced instances for both performance as well as failover, and they're often shared across many applications and services. To compound the complexity, there are very few professional-grade tools out there designed to help you manage this complexity. Now, per a recent survey of TIBCO customers, we found that 8 out of 10 TIBCO operations teams only use TIBCO Admin or Hawk to monitor their mission-critical TIBCO infrastructure. These are essentially the freeware monitoring tools provided as part of each individual admin console. Now, at the same time, every one of our respondents said that they were responsible for managing more than one TIBCO technology at a time. And yet they're still relying on a piecemeal collection of free monitoring tools to do their job. But you're missing out on a lot of operational insight if you're only relying on TIBCO's admin tools for monitoring. Why? That's because TIBCO admin consoles were never developed for primary monitoring purposes. They were developed to help you administer software, not monitor it. Now, first and foremost, you have no historical data. Historical data is what gives you the context of seeing how something is performing over time. Are you seeing a sudden spike? Or is it a problem that has been growing since early this morning? When exactly did this performance bottleneck start? And did the performance of multiple technologies all start to degrade around a similar time or event? Now, a common complaint that we hear from customers is that by the time they get their Hawk alert, the problem has already resolved itself and there's no way to investigate the cause of the problem since it isn't happening at this very moment. Now, historical data gives you the ability to trace the performance degradation back through time so that you can find the root cause and fix it before it happens again. Second, operations and support teams have to use different admin consoles for each TIBCO technology. And that means you have to look at each technology silo in isolation, with no understanding of the impact caused or felt by adjacent technologies upon the dependent application. Now, an issue as simple as an errant Java process can start sucking up resources and can end up creating problems that can cascade down to, for instance, your business events application, which can no longer pull pending messages off an EMS queue. But tracing that back to the root cause using lots of different consoles and interfaces is difficult and time-consuming. The third limitation is that you can usually only see one server at a time. And that's not much help if you want to view only the servers that are supporting a specific application or service having issues. And what if you want to see all the servers in a load balance cluster and see if the workload is being distributed evenly? You'll have to do that one server at a time too. What you lack is context. Knowing how one server or technology is related to another in the context of a given application or service can provide you with huge operational benefits. But aren't your middleware-centric applications too critical to be monitored with multiple free admin tools? Well, TIBCO technology often powers the most critical aspects of your business. It costs a lot of money and time to build, You lose a lot of money every minute that they go down. That's why you need to invest in a professional grade middleware monitoring platform. Because without proper monitoring tools, preventative monitoring is difficult at best. You're often the last to know about a problem, when really you should be the first to know. Locating performance problems within your middleware-centric applications and services often require an all-hands-on-deck approach. I'm sure that anyone who spent time in the war room pointing fingers at each other knows what I mean. And finally, predicting capacity requirements is just a guess. Without a detailed understanding of resource utilization over time and during your peak periods, most people simply resort to over-provisioning resources in order to avoid bottlenecks and hotspots. But that's wasteful, it's expensive, and ultimately it just gives you more pieces of middleware that need to be monitored. But with proper monitoring tools, you'll be able to literally see hotspots as they develop and take preventative action before alerts start firing. This is an easy way to reduce the total number of daily incidents as well as head off any pending disasters. Just as in life, whether it's healthcare or automotive maintenance, what have you, preventative maintenance is always much cheaper than waiting for things to break. You'll also be able to avoid the finger pointing in the war room and defend your platforms when the underlying cause of an outage is really the infrastructure rather than your middleware. And if it is your middleware, you'll be the first to know, and you can spend that war room time fixing the problem rather than simply trying to find it. And finally, an intuitive monitoring platform makes monitoring easy. It's just human nature to avoid the things that we hate to do, and we're much more likely to do the things that are simple and easy. A proper middleware monitoring platform will make it an easy and enjoyable part of your daily routine. And that's why thought leaders use RTView. Now, RTView is a mature and well-proven technology in use by many customers today worldwide. SL has partnered with TIBCO since 2002 to provide advanced monitoring tools that provide the best-in-class support for TIBCO middleware technology. We've been helping TIBCO customers reduce their number of IT incidents and reduce their time to recovery for even longer than that. In fact, TIBCO even offers some of our standalone monitoring tools as de facto monitoring tools for BusinessWorks, EMS, and custom monitoring applications. But today, we're going to be talking about RTView Enterprise Monitor, what we're calling the all-in-one TIBCO monitor, available exclusively through SL. RTView Enterprise Monitor is integrated with the most widely deployed TIBCO middleware technologies, including TIBCO BusinessWorks, EMS, TIBCO Business Events and Active Spaces, TIBCO Active Matrix, number of different TIBCO adapters, and even Hawk itself. Not only do we collect real-time performance metrics from each of these platforms and intelligently store this information for historical analysis, we also use something called correlation as the secret sauce that allows RTView Enterprise Monitor to understand how each of these technologies are related in the context of an application or service, and where they're located, and even which instances are part of a load balance cluster. It's this added context that's really the key to understanding how your middleware is operating within the greater application ecosystem, as opposed to just seeing a collection of independent and unrelated data points. And speaking of context, we also know that your middleware platforms are dependent on a number of different infrastructure technologies, which can potentially impact the performance of your TIBCO middleware. These might include application servers or databases, messaging appliance, as well as physical, virtual, and cloud-based hosts that the TIBCO technologies actually run on. That's why we also offer additional solution packages for these adjacent technologies, so that you can see the big picture and understand if your infrastructure is affecting the performance of your middleware, or the other way around. RTView Enterprise Monitor is also a favorite monitoring technology of application support teams who need to get an end-to-end view of all the technologies that make up their applications. Sharing a common platform like this is a great way to share information and collaborate with other middleware infrastructure application support teams when problems need to be resolved and every second counts. I should also mention that since monitoring is effectively decoupled from the management capabilities in this scenario, it's now easier to share this information with different groups without compromising the security associated with giving everyone admin access to all your different systems. Now, RTView Enterprise Monitor will have a huge impact on your application stability. After you've installed and configured RTView Enterprise Monitor, which requires no agents and comes pre-configured with alert thresholds and pre-built role-based dashboards, you'll have some powerful new capabilities that will help you proactively address stability issues and rapidly respond to error conditions. Let me briefly introduce you to some of these new capabilities before we demonstrate them for you in more detail. Now you can centralize performance metrics. Think how much easier your morning routine will become when you're able to quickly scan high-level health summaries for your middleware, infrastructure, and applications all in one place. And not just your individual middleware components, but also the infrastructure that supports them. In a minute, we're going to demonstrate how to use these high-level summaries in your daily routine and quickly drill down when you spot trouble brewing. Next, you'll be able to predict alert conditions and respond before actual alerts start firing. We're going to show you some incredibly potent features that go beyond alert summaries and actually visualize how stressed your systems are over time, both pre and post-alert, so that you can predict impending bottlenecks, take preventative action, and protect your mission-critical applications. Even more importantly, we'll show you how to read this data in the context of all the middleware and infrastructure components that make up your middleware-centric applications so that you can glean the operational insight necessary to quickly diagnose issues and trace root cause, or at least get you in the right ballpark before you need to bring out the deep dive tools. Next, we'll show you how to pinpoint problems before escalating. Why drag everybody into the war room for a finger pointing session when really what you want to do is quickly find out where the problem is so that you know specifically who to escalate to rather than just escalating it to everyone. And finally, we'll talk a little bit about analyzing capacity requirements. Now we know estimating whether you have enough resources available for next year's Labor Day sale or tax return day or Christmas shipping season, it's a tough job, especially if you don't have historical performance data. Well, we do. We have historical performance data. And we're working diligently with a lot of customers like yourself to make this data and to take this data and utilize new analytical capabilities to help you answer those questions with confidence so that you're not wasting resources for lack of visibility. Okay, enough teasing. Let's add some context of our own to this presentation and show you the impact RTView can make in a day in the life of a middleware operations and support person. My colleague, Glenn Idavane, is going to show you all what you've been waiting for, how to monitor all of your TIBCO technologies and related infrastructure in one place. Glenn, you are now the presenter.
Thank you, David. Thanks very much. Appreciate that. So, David has talked about RTView, discussed the functional benefits, the value of RTView, sort of in a more of an academic sense. What I want to do is show you in practical terms, how you would actually use RTView during a typical day in your life. Okay, so that's the scenario that I'm working to. So maybe after a long weekend, you arrive back in the office, you sit down, and the first thing you need to do is to come to grips with all of the issues, all of the events that are facing you right now. Okay, you need to get up to speed in real time. You need to be able to triage those events. You need to be able to separate out those customer-facing critical problems on critical applications, and perhaps push us to one side those internal applications that can perhaps wait until you've got some breathing. But how do you do that? That's the first thing RTV does. We help you prioritize your efforts. How do we help you prioritize? Well, you provide focus. First thing that we're looking at here are those things that should be grabbing your attention. Okay, so here we can see a heat map that is showing you the health state of all of those applications that are dependent upon the TIBCO infrastructure. Down on the left-hand side, we see a friendly navigation tree that is giving you the aggregate health state of various different IT groupings. They can be application groupings, or they can be infrastructure groupings. Nonetheless, we've filtered out already all of those that seem to be just fine, and we're highlighting those that definitely aren't. Okay, so this is the first step that we're giving you towards this prioritization process, and that is focus and filtering. We next go to looking just at those TIBCO server-centric views. So now we've drilled down to another page, again, the same set of applications, but this time we're starting to see, okay, the one that we need to pay some attention to first is the accounting application. We've got a problem with the accounting application, and remember that accounting application, it's often integrated into customer payment processes. So it's certainly going to get some attention. It needs immediate attention. So in this particular view, same set of applications, but now we've got an alert-based view of these things. We're looking at the alert severity. We've put a lot of business logic in here so that we're not just reporting on the number of thresholds breached. What we're actually doing is we're assessing, we're applying some logic and saying, how important is all of this? And to back that up, you'll see in these columns to the right that we've got the number of alerts, we've got how critical those alerts are, the severity of these alerts. All of this information is provided in this single screen. Okay? So let's focus on accounting, since that is the most critical system that seems to be having a problem at the moment. So now we've drilled down one step further. We're taking a single service view of the accounting application. We're looking at all of the dependent resources and nothing else. So if it's not in this list, it's not part of accounting. We don't need to worry about it. Okay, and remember also that you've gotten here within 3 clicks. So you've sat down, you've seen a red thing against accounting, you've drilled into it, and now you're looking at the individual resources that are probably the cause of that error condition. Okay, so this view of accounting showing you all the dependent resources. Again, this is showing you with more focus. There's less noise, less wasted time for you chasing down things that are not really part of the problem, which means that when you're asked, you're able to give faster answers. This is the thing you're trying to get to. Okay? Also notice that the alerts on the bottom of the screen indicate that there's a memory usage problem on a specific server. It's BW server SLE 4-64. For those like me, hard to read this, right? So now what you need to be able to do is say, okay, is this a problem I can fix, or do I need to escalate this problem? Okay, so the next step is to start looking at this, this particular server. Again, with a single click, now we're looking at that single BW server. Very quickly, we can see that there's a stopped engine on this box. That's got a ripple effect as far as the memory usage on the other engines because of the load balancing failures. So this is what we need to do. We need to get in there, restart that engine, let services get back to normal, and all of a sudden, in just a few minutes, we've resolved an issue that ordinarily would take us a considerable amount of time to nail down. Now that we've got our TIBCO world sort of stabilized, we've got our arms around everything, we understand what the prioritization should be, we've dealt with the critical things. We need to start now maybe looking a little bit further afield, okay? So now we need to start looking at the bigger picture. You need to look at those systems that our TIBCO world interacts with, because those will have a definite impact on us. Again, we go back to the nav tree, only this time we're looking at alerts that are coming through on the infrastructure level. So we can drill down and quickly see the servers, both physical and virtual. Okay, this information is normally very difficult to get. That means it's normally overlooked because, you know, just human nature, as David pointed out, is what it is, and we'll tend to focus on the things that are ready to hand. But in this particular case, RTView goes out, we gather that information, we bring it into Sight for You, we apply then business logic, IT logic, we do some analysis, and we provide out to you the alert state of these conditions. There's no need for a level 1 or some person who's not intimately involved in the host systems to understand why a 50% running rate on CPU is perfectly fine, whereas the same 50% rate on a network is absolutely not fine. There's no need for you to understand that. We've normalized that. Same thing goes for the database systems. We've used best practices and subject matter experts to look at that and to precondition these alerts. But here we can see that we've got a problem, both with the physical hosts and also with the VM hosts. Because servers are critical, this is normally the starting point. I mean, everything runs on a server. Okay, and so anything happening in the server will definitely have a knock-on effect. So as we drill in, now we start looking at the individual systems. And although we don't manage these resources, we should certainly keep up with on what's going on with these. We should certainly know the health state. We should certainly get to understand what problems they're having. So here we can see the health state. We can see some of the error messages related to that. This is good information for us. And then we can drill in a little bit further and we can start looking at what's going on with some of these servers. Even though they're not necessarily causing problems for us, we can start looking at them. And we can see in this particular case, if we hover over, that during the day this was running at 100%. That's simply not good. And then at about 6 p.m., it drops off dramatically into a normal sort of operating level. Now, this might not be causing problems for you now, but it certainly could cause a problem in the future. So this is an opportunity for you to call somebody that manages these systems, to call somebody that is perhaps the Unix administrator or the Windows administrator. Cut and paste this screen, perhaps share the URL so he can drill down to it himself. He can then take remedial action. Maybe he contacts the dev team and it says, hey, you know, this is a runaway application, you need to get it fixed. Doing that, you've just avoided a problem in the future that would have affected your BW environment. Okay. So as I said before, we have to pay attention to those peripheral systems, the app servers and the database servers. By looking at the hosts, we went down the stack, looked at the underpinning for the TIBCO infrastructure. But now what we're looking at are those peripheral systems that also impact us. We're looking at the app servers and the database servers. So we're looking now across the stack. App servers can definitely determine the flow of your traffic. They are the source of most of your traffic. App servers feeding too much or not enough information into the TIBCO route can cause symptoms that look as though they're being caused by TIBCO. And so you have to go to all of that effort to prove that, in fact, that pending messages problem is not caused by AMS. That slow running process, not caused by BW. Same thing happens with database servers. A slow running database server can cause a backup on BW. Definitely impact the processing performance. How long is it going to take you without this kind of proof, without being able to cut and paste or provide an equivalent URL to a DBA? How long is it going to take you to prove to him that the problem lies with his database and not with BW? Okay. So I've just given you some examples there of how you deal with immediate problems. You know, when you first come in, this is broken, that's broken. How do you decide when you've got 10 things that are wrong? How do you decide which ones to hit first? We've shown you that. We then talk to you about how you can sort of drill into this information, how you can capture the information you need if you need to escalate, or with that information at hand, you can probably resolve more issues now by yourself without having to go through that time-wasted exercise. We then went on to look at how you can review the environment surrounding TIBCO. You can start looking at the app servers, the database servers. You can start looking down the stack at the CPUs. So now let's move up the stack. Many times these high-profile applications are these are the ones get talked about during the monthly meetings, where everybody says, "Oh, these are the things you have to pay full attention to. This is a critical application. We need to know the moment anything starts going adrift." Now, moving out of firefighting mode, it's not easy. Okay, you're just geared towards that, but it can pay huge dividends by avoiding a problem, by proactively getting in and fixing a resource issue that will cause a problem. Means that many issues have been resolved for just one set of actions, because problems tend to repeat. So if you fix that problem before it starts, you've avoided all of that repetition. So let's talk about how RTView does that, how it gives you the visibility into these highly visible applications. So one of the things that RTView can provide you with is a dynamic flow diagram of these customer-facing applications. What we're looking at here is the same look and feel diagram that is used internally at these companies by the level 1, the level 2, and the level 3 support groups. Okay, so they use these diagrams. So they're used to looking at this, and they understand intuitively how the flow works. So we mimic those diagrams. We build those heat maps, the same ones you saw earlier, where you had a series of boxes. We've rearranged that. So this is one single application. We're looking at the flow. We're looking at the relationships between all of these. Okay, so everything here looks great. Everything is green, not a problem. Okay, so let's drill down to the next level. And now what we're looking at is a subflow. This is one of those boxes. This is a classic drill down. Here we're looking at the components that are primarily TIBCO related. So we're looking at EMS queues, we're looking at BW engines, etc. We're seeing the flow. We're seeing the dependencies. Again, everything looks green. We're happy. Next stage of the flow, still green. We're still happy. But maybe we should just take that extra step before we move on. Let's just take a look at some of the history. So everything is currently green, but has it been that way? When we actually look at a different, on the same screen, we have the option to look at a key metric screen, what RTV calls a key metric screen. And here we can see that when we start bringing the historical element in, things have not been so good. So this is an 8-hour view. We see that, yeah, everything's great now. Everything's kind of green. But prior to that, we had a lot of stress points on these resources. So let's widen the view a little bit. Let's take a look at the whole weekend. Let's step back a little bit. This time now we can start seeing patterns. And remember what I said, that by avoiding a problem, by correcting a problem before things start blowing up, because of that repetitive nature of problems, by taking one series and a series of actions, you've avoided 9 or 10 different issues at least. Okay, so now we've got something that we can actually drill into, and we can use RTView now to explore the behavior of these various different components. Okay, this is a huge benefit of RTView. So this is another example of the same kind of key metrics display. But this one, I just wanted to take just a few seconds to explain how we can determine cause and effect. Okay, so these resources down here are the same kind of resources that we looked at in earlier table form. And each of these resources is responsible for supporting this particular business application. Happens to be the same one we were just looking at, which is ScanCheck 2. So here we can see the stress points. We can see that the CPU on the VMware host, that's the ESXi host, is going up. It starts yellow, then gets orange and red. So that's clearly entering into a problem state. The net impact of that is on the VM that runs on that host. that CPU likewise shows stress. Okay, it's clear that this one is dependent upon this. This goes red. After a small amount of time, this also starts to suffer. As we go up, we see that as we go up the stack, we see that the BW engine is now struggling to pull messages off this queue. Why? Because it's running on this VM host and it doesn't have the CPU that it needs. Because it's not able to pull messages off quickly enough, the messages eventually start to pile up here, right? Start to pile up here on the EMS server. And this is when an alert's generated, because that pending messages reaches a threshold and alerts go out. So now you know, just based on the alert, oh, okay, we've got a problem here. But without this kind of screen, you might continually work in the BW EMS area and not really understand that this problem was in fact caused by issues with the CPU, particularly since by the time you discover this, right, by the time you discover this alert, when you actually start looking and the VM administrator starts looking, he's just going to run CPU stats and he's going to see, no, everything's green. I'm running at 18%, everything's good. What this means is that problem will repeat itself because we haven't identified the root cause. You can see that after time, now that this has moved into a green state, maybe there was some processor hogging all of the CPU resources. Now you can see that, yeah, sure enough, the BW engine starts to catch up. EMS starts to catch up. Again, everything's green. So this is the kind of understanding that RTView can provide to you. And all of this, again, remember, you should view in the context of, you know, a day in the life. These are the practical ways that you would use RTView to improve the service to the business community and, you know, of course, in the process, make your life easier. Okay, so that completes my part of the presentation. So,
All right. Thank you very much, Glenn. So what do you guys think? I hope that we've been able to pique your interest in RTView Enterprise Monitor. It's really the perfect tool for monitoring all of your TIBCO technologies and related infrastructure in one place. So, you know, we urge you, don't settle for freeware when it comes to the performance and stability of your most important IT and most important business assets. Choose the platform designed for middleware monitoring. It's the one that hundreds of companies rely on. With RTView Enterprise Monitor, you'll be able to prevent performance-related incidents, predict your resource usage, and protect your company from embarrassing and costly outages. So, are you ready to see for yourself? We offer free trials, and we have engineers available that can help you install and configure RTView Enterprise Monitor in just a matter of a few hours. Do you need help building a business case for your management? Well, we can help with that too. We know that making the business case can be a challenge because you need to look at the total costs and use conservative assumptions so that it's reasonable and believable. Now, there is a range of both tangible and intangible benefits, but it's important that we really focus on the measurable, tangible benefits so that we can make that hard business case and make sure that we have credibility. Generally, through our tools and working with customers, we focus on reducing the number of Severity 1 incidents and improving the mean time to recover for both Severity 1 and Severity 2 incidents. And we'll be able to show you hard ROI and rapid payback on your investment. Now, you know, we know a lot of people that we work with in IT don't necessarily have a ton of experience developing business cases, but we do. We have a lot of experience and working with customers like you to help build an effective yet conservative business case, and we can help you do that too. So with that kind of concludes the presentation. We're going to take a few questions, so you can send us your questions via chat on the right-hand side of the screen. And I'd also like to point out that the slides from today's presentation, as well as a recording of this presentation, because I understand some people have had some audio trouble, will be made available for download We'll email you a link as soon as it's available, just within the next few days. So we already have a few different questions, and I think we only have about 5 minutes to address it. So let's go ahead and get started. Our first question is from Pandian G, and it says, is RTView TIBCO only monitoring, or can it also be used for monitoring other JVM-based applications such as J2EE and Spring, etc.? Glenn, do you want to take that?
Sure. So today's focus, of course, was on TIBCO, and from the background point of view is definitely our sweet spot. But no, we monitor WebLogic, WebSphere, we monitor Oracle databases, we monitor OpenStack, JBoss, Tomcat, etc. We're able to monitor the entire infrastructure. And we're able to bring all of those metrics into the same dashboards that we saw today.
Great, excellent answer. So I have a second question from Pandian G, which is, does RTView support monitoring TIBCO infrastructure on Silver Fabric? And I can take that because I know we just released the new BusinessWorks 6 solution package, and I can confirm that yes, we can monitor BusinessWorks running on Silver Fabric. And if that's not already part of the other solution packs, it will be imminently. So whether
we can also monitor all of the other technologies within the Silver Fabric framework as well.
Awesome. So that is a positive answer there.
Yes.
It's a simple yes, exactly. Let me see. One of the additional questions was, is this the same software I can get through TIBCO? And the answer is no. Actually, TIBCO sells something called TIBCO RTView, and they are independent monitors for BusinessWorks and EMS and business events. But what you're seeing here is the enterprise monitor available exclusively through SL. Not only does it, collect performance metrics from all these different systems and brings it together, but it also adds that correlation piece that allows you, the system to understand how these systems are related and how one system is impacting another. And that actually kind of dovetails into a follow-on question, which is, how does the system understand, how these different components are related? Glenn, can I get you to take that?
Yeah, sure. So as David was just pointing out, when you buy the RTView monitoring through TIBCO, they're what we call standalone. So you can monitor TIBCO BW, you can monitor EMS, but you can't monitor those together. Okay, so with the EM solution that Dave just brought up, that's our umbrella, and we can then incorporate the RTView monitoring of BW and EMS, and then start adding in, WebSphere, WebLogic, Oracle, etc. And that's how we're then able to start producing those service model driven reports, where we're able to start looking at things from an application-centric point of view. Okay, so that's done through our integrated service models, an automated process that looks at the applications running, it looks at the resources supporting those applications, and it builds those things that we saw today.
Great. I did have kind of a follow-on question to the TIBCO thing too, is what are the limitations in RTView and how is it different than TIBCO RTView? And I know that I kind of covered, one is a standalone and the other is the enterprise. But Glenn, would you care to talk about, whether, TIBCO RTView is significantly different in terms of the data that we collect?
Sure. So again, RTView EMS or BW is just looking at those systems. Okay, and basically it's a very sort of single view of a particular technology. But remember that applications, when they're working within the infrastructure, flow through those different technologies. So it flows through business events, BusinessWorks, EMS, active spaces. It flows through all of those systems. So if you only have individual views into that, you're at a severe disadvantage. So EM, its function is to integrate all of that information together. So its function is to, in a single screen, show you EMS, its interactions with BW, their interactions with active spaces. And if you think back to where we were showing you all of those business flows and everything looked green and etc., that was BW feeding into EMS, feeding again into BW, feeding into business events, feeding into BW. So we see that flow mapped out, and we report on the health state of all of that. So you understand the dependencies. You can't do that with standalones.
Great. Thanks, Glenn. I do want to point out it's this, the way we've packaged the product. We have what we call solution packages for each technology. So whatever metrics you do collect with the standalone TIBCO version, you get the exact same metrics in the enterprise version. But what you are missing is the context of how these pieces are related together and how they're operating together. But you do get, you know, even with the standalone historical data and things of that nature. But, you know, again, if you're responsible for more than one TIBCO technology, and in our experience, most people are, I think there's huge advantages of being able to do that in one tool rather than, you know, 4 different tools. So, okay, I think we are just kind of wrapping up. The good news is I already have some interest in doing some sample trials, and we will contact you directly to set that up. And anybody else who's interested in doing a sample trial or just talking to us, we have you know, engineers and experts like Glenn who can answer, you know, any kind of detailed questions. We're happy to set up, you know, a private demo for you and do a WebEx and answer any questions that you might have. So just, you know, let us know. We're going to email you. You can email us at info@tibco.com. And I also want to point out that we're very active on the TIP community forum for TIBCO. So if you just look for the RTView subject space there, you can also contact us there. So with that, it's 11:45. We're out of time. Any additional questions that we have, we will answer offline, and probably even try and post the answer to those questions on TIB community as well. So thank you, everyone. We really appreciate your time. We look forward to following up with you. Again, you should be receiving a recorded or a link to a recorded version very soon. For those of you that had some audio problems, we apologize. But we appreciate your time, and we hope that you have a great day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.